This is Jerry Baker, and odds are if you're over 30 years old, you probably remember his show on PBS in the mid to late 90s all about lawn and gardening. And Jerry was well known for his homemade fertilizer recipes that usually only contained a few household ingredients. Unfortunately, Jerry's no longer with us. However, today we're going to pay homage to the late Jerry Baker, and I'm going to show you his homemade summer fertilizer recipe that will keep your lawn green all summer long. Guys, it's 2024 and I don't know if you noticed, but the 90s are back in a big way. Vintage clothes are back in style. Vintage video games are a hot commodity, so what better way to celebrate this resurgence of the 90s than to apply a vintage fertilizer recipe from the 90s. But before we do, we have to make a stop real quick to Walmart to pick up a few items. Alright, so the first thing we want to grab is some beer. Now the key thing to remember here is we don't want to use any type of light beer. So if you guys like Michelob Ultra, we can't be using that. The more sugar and the more carbohydrates that are in the beer, the better it's going to be for our grass. In this specific case, we're going to use my personal favorite beer, which is Corona. The next thing we're going to need to grab is some light corn syrup. This is it right here. It's called Caro. Now, usually they have a generic version here that's much cheaper, but today they're out of stock here at Walmart, so we're gonna grab the brand name stuff, but don't be afraid to buy the cheap stuff because it is going on our lawn. So the next thing we wanna grab is some Dawn dish soap. We wanna make sure that we just get the regular old Dawn. Don't buy this one right here, which is antibacterial, because it contains extra chemicals that could hurt your lawn. Just get the basic run-of-the-mill blue Dawn dish soap. So the next thing we need is some regular household ammonia. This is the Walmart version, great value. And this is the cheapest one you're gonna be able to get, and I recommend you just grab this. And the last thing you're gonna need is any type of liquid lawn food. And the best thing about this fertilizer recipe is
Dad,
that
I don't want to be in the video now.
Oh, hold on. And the best thing about this fertilizer recipe is that it does 4 different things in one, and it does them for cheap. It'll feed your soil's microbes, dethatch your lawn, green up your lawn, and it also contains a wetting agent to help water penetrate your lawn. So essentially this cocktail is a liquid aerator, a liquid dethatcher, a wetting agent, and a fertilizer all in one. There's a bunch of specialty products on the market that claim to do all these things, and I'm sure they do a good job. The only problem is, who wants to spend 60, 70 bucks a bottle for something like this when you could get the same exact results using household products at home? All right, so the first thing we need to do is measure out 1 cup of beer, and the beer contains sugar and yeast, which are both going to feed the microbes in your soil. Then obviously we can't just let this beer go to waste, right? Next up, we need 1 cup of household ammonia. Ammonia is a source of nitrogen, which is going to help make our lawn dark green. Next up, we need 1/2 cup of dish soap, and dish soap is a surfactant which helps break the surface tension of water. So when you go out to water your lawn, it'll actually be able to absorb that water rather than just running off into the street, which is very common when we get dry, cracked soil in the summertime. Next up, we need 1/2 cup of corn syrup, and corn syrup is a high source of sugar, just like the beer that we used, hence why it's in all the soda we like to drink. And the last thing we need is any type of liquid lawn food. Today we're going to be using Protein Plus by Earthworks, which contains a whole bunch of good stuff like ammonium sulfate, iron, sea kelp, molasses. If you don't happen to have this liquid fertilizer, you could use any type of liquid fertilizer that you might have on hand. And in order to make our application, we're going to need to use one of these orthodiol sprays. You can get these at Home Depot for about 10, 15 bucks. If you're a beginner to using one of these sprayers, I recommend that you just set the dial to 2 ounces per gallon setting, which will mean that every gallon that you spray, 2 ounces of product will come out along with the water. And this will allow you to spray your whole lawn evenly without running out of product. Now the goal here is to evenly spray 1,000 square feet of your lawn as evenly as possible. And since we use the low setting, odds are you're going to have some product left in the tank. In that case, all you have to do is spray your lawn a second time until it's completely empty. Alright, so it's been 10 days since we made our application. We're starting to hit the hottest part of the year here in Chicago. I'm not gonna lie, it's so humid outside, I can't wait to go back inside. And the lawn is definitely looking a lot greener than before we made our application, but that's no surprise since we did spike it with that fertilizer. The main thing I'm noticing here is that there's a lot less of a yellow haze than before we applied this mix, which means the sugars in the beer and the corn syrup are feeding the bacteria, which is essentially breaking down the thatch in our lawn. And I think the liquid dethatching properties of this cocktail is really where it shines in the summertime. A lot of people used to call Jerry Baker a quack and a snake oil salesman, but I can confirm 100% his lawn tonics work. Now, if you plan on using a backpack sprayer rather than a hose end sprayer like the one we used in the video, I would not use this exact recipe. Instead, I would use this altered recipe that I have posted on screen right now. It'll do all the same things as the recipe I showed you earlier with no risk of burning your lawn. And the reason we have to alter it is because ammonia is a hot source of nitrogen, and if you don't have enough water carrier volume, then you could potentially burn your grass by applying it using a backpack spray. So before we get out of here, I wanted to share some pretty exciting news that we had here on the channel. About a week ago, we actually hit 100,000 subscribers, and I don't even know what to say. I'm like still in shock right now. This is a goal that we've had for the past 4 years. So I just want to thank you guys for all the support. Without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to hit this goal. So it really means a lot to me, and I'm so happy that you guys were able to join us on this journey. And I also want to thank my wife for helping me out, because if you guys didn't know by now, she's actually the artistic director behind the channel. All those fancy shots you guys see in the lawn, that's all her. All those crispy thumbnails that you guys click on, she makes those. And without her help, I truly mean this, we would not be where we are today. So Bird, I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I love
She's
you.
the best.
Thank you.
Oh, and you know, one more thing. I would have never started this channel if it wasn't for you, because I remember back in the day when I first got into lawn care, all I would watch is Lawn Care Nut, Silver Symbol, Ryan Knorr videos all day long. We're talking like 8 hours a day. I would watch those videos. And finally one day, what did you tell me, Bird?
I'll just make a video in the garage and just, you know, just wing it. And then it turned into all of this, and we got this wonderful award and awesome fans. Thank you.
I also want to thank my mom, who's actually in the house right now, because if it wasn't for her coming over watching Sophia all the time, there's no way we could have ended up making all these videos. So Ma, if you're watching, I want you to know I really appreciate you. And if you guys are interested in more homemade fertilizer recipes like the one we showed you today, then check out this video right here. In this video, I'll show you another very unconventional way to fertilize your lawn, and I think you guys will enjoy it. And with that, this is George from Princess Cut. Peace.